Episode 20, or 80 away as the cousin refers to it. And I feel like there's a couple guys on this podcast who are real excited for what 100 could hold if it actually were to occur. But we'll talk about that another day. I'm Scott Sternal, Winded City Countdown, joined with Ben Russo, Matt Urich. We're all, I know Matt and I are both taking in the Cubs doing things to the Cardinal way of life, which is fun to watch. Ben is sipping a water in his basement. Ben, how are you? You doing good tonight?
Better. Cubs are winning, so
Yeah,
that's
that,
promising.
that's what we'll go with. And Matt, you're okay?
Yeah. Go Cubs, right?
Go Cubs, go! All right. We got the weekly tonight, and I'm gonna throw a small curveball here because I wrote this in the description before I read the list because I'm an idiot. But we're going to start at number 5, and then, because you're filled with a little piss and vinegar tonight, we're going to talk about your favorite team, which we didn't get a chance to talk about, the end of their season last week.
Oh,
And the disgrace that was the end of season press conference for the Chicago Bulls. Beat writers were on deadline, and they decided for John Paxson and Gar Forman to ascend from their stupid perch and talk stupid things about how Fred Hoiberg is a nice guy, and that's enough to be a head coach in this league. Ben Russo, your thought on the plan that's happening on the west side?
I didn't know they had one.
Oh, they do.
I
You
must
see it, don't
that.
you?
Yeah, the move for we talked. Matt mentioned earlier how he hates Joe Cowley so much, and I told him I tend to agree, except when it comes to his Bulls coverage, because for the last 4 or 5 years, everybody's been giving us those puff pieces, whereas Joe Cowley's kind of been telling it how it is for the longest time, and at least as far as the Bulls go, everybody else he's kind of whatever. But it was typical of as he calls the cockroach that is Gar Forman to come out of hiding. At what time would it have been? 10:30. After everybody's going to bed, and that's when they come out and decide to do the state of the team address instead of maybe doing it the next day or whatever the case may be.
As they should have. There should have been a press conference at like 2:00 the next day for them to face the media.
Right, and they didn't do it that way because they're cowards. But whatever. Just the whole press conference was just obnoxious. I mean, if there was ever two, I'm assuming they're educated people who don't know what the word accountable means or accountability means, it would be those two. Because he opened up by saying, "Oh, we're accountable," and then proceeded to talk for an hour about how they aren't accountable and how they clearly just don't understand what the meaning of accountability is. It's really just, it's a shame. I wrote it in the article or in the blog that I wrote how I hate them for making me hate the Bulls.
Yep.
This is like Mark Trestman-esque to me, where I hated the Bears there at the end that last season with Trestman and Emery, and I hate this Bulls team right now. There's absolutely nothing likable about it. There's not a likable player to me. Maybe Taj would be about the only person I could tolerate on that team.
Yeah.
And they don't have a plan. I don't know what your plan is, because you're talking about all these pieces that don't fit together. You're still talking about bringing Noah back. You're still going to have the 14th pick, barring a miracle that you win the lottery with a 0.5% chance. And you're not going to get Sacramento's pick because you need 3 teams from 9 to 14 to jump into the 1 through 3 slot. So, again, you have nothing to build with. I don't know what their plan is moving forward, and like I said, I don't trust anything that they're going to do anyway, so good luck to that team.
Matt, what was your favorite part of the press conference? Because mine centered around the talk that Pau Gasol is not going to be back next year, even though 3 months ago he was part of the core.
Yeah, that's definitely it, because they went out of their way right around the trade deadline or right after the trade deadline, whatever it was, to say that Pau was part of the future. They didn't see any deal out there that made sense, and that to them, Pau leaving and getting that cap space was good enough. That was good enough for them, and that goes to show you how inept this, like, the Bulls make me mad. And like Ben said, it sucks that that Gar and Pax make you hate the Bulls, because they're it's a team filled with people that you hate. Well, hate's a bad word, but you strongly dislike. So the whole press conference and doing it that night after the game, nobody cares. Cubs are on. I believe was that the playoff opener for the Blackhawks that night?
It was a Wednesday night. I think
Yeah.
that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
because the Bulls were relegated to
non-HD.
Comcast Sports Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a non-HD game, which is amazing.
Yeah, I don't see anything improving with the Bulls moving forward unless at least one of them is gone, but preferably both. And that doesn't seem like it's happening anytime soon.
So I think, Ben, to go back to your point about the Bears, I think that's something that we held on to, was that, the McCaskies were not going to be okay with how that ended, with the turmoil in the locker room and the zero accountability. And you had who was the coach that threw Cutler under the bus?
Aaron
Cromer. That happened. I think that played a big role in that. But we all sat there at the end of the season going, okay, so what does this mean? And at least the Bears stepped up and said, yes, we're going to we're going to clean house. We're going to do some stuff. Reinsdorf seems to have no desire to do that here.
No.
Right? I mean, he's living on 6 championships from the 90s still. I mean, as hard as this is to believe, the Bulls are 18 years removed from their last title. 18 years! And he's 18 years, and in those 18 years, we've seen one Eastern Conference final. That's inept, and it's unacceptable, and that is why the Bulls will continue to be a dumpster fire. So, anyways, enough about that. Let's go on to number 4 on our list for the weekly. The LA Rams had a big trade last week, trading their first and a third and a fifth, maybe it was, for...
No,
I've got the whole thing here.
All right, Matt, please read it for us.
Okay, so Tennessee sent the 4th pick and their 6th round pick to the LA Rams for the
along
Rams.
with the number 1 overall, obviously.
Yes. To the Rams for the number 15. So the Rams gave up the 15th overall pick, 2 second-round picks, 43 and 45, a third-round pick, number 76, and that's all in this year's draft. And then the Titans will also get St. Louis, LA's first and third-round picks next year. So that's a boatload of picks for 2. I mean, the presumption is it's either going to be Carson Wentz of North Dakota State or Jared Goff of California. So that's a lot for 2 guys that aren't really considered quote-unquote game changers at this point.
Yeah. Ben, we've kind of talked offline about, this is obviously a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously a quarterback, and that we don't really know who the best quarterback is. I mean, obviously when there is a pick, a surefire number 1, the first overall pick isn't really available ever. But here we are, and it's available. So what do you make of this, Ben? What are your thoughts?
I kind of go back and forth on it. We've mentioned before. I mean, the quarterback position is the most important position in all of sports. I mean, if you don't have, a top level quarterback, I don't want to sit here and be like a top 1 or top 2, a top level quarterback, it's next to impossible to win. So from that side, I'll give them at least a little credit for saying, hey, they went for it, they understand what they need. And I mean, the Rams aren't a terrible team. I mean, they had obviously the 15th pick, so middle of the pack. They have the defense in place to compete and to make that push to, I'm not going to sit here and say win the division, but make the playoffs, and let's see what happens. Obviously, in that division, that's going to be difficult, but it's something that I wish the Bears would have done sooner than when they did that with Cutler to make that big move. They seem to have wasted that defense for a long time, but it's just funny that it's the Rams after all the crap they got for that RG3 trade, and then to come back and then give a haul that pretty much rivals the RG3 trade, to be honest. I I don't know. I'm not a big believer in either of these two quarterbacks. I think it was a gutsy move. It'll be interesting to see which one they take, but to me, you don't make that move unless there's really that surefire guy. But at the same time, if there's that surefire,
Uh-oh. Do we lose Ben?
We may have. So
It seems like we might have lost Ben there, but the point he was making there, and he'll rejoin us shortly here, we hope. Here he is. He's back. Ben, do you want to finish that point you were making?
yeah, I just said basically. I'm not sure where it cut off, but I said that you don't make that move unless there's a surefire quarterback available. But at the same time, if there was a surefire quarterback available, are we really sure that trade would happen? I mean, let's say that Andrew Luck's out there again or somebody similar. I don't know that Tennessee even makes that trade. I think they may take that guy and maybe move Mariota or whatever the case is. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out nonetheless.
So just a quick history of trading up for the number 1 overall pick. 04, the Chargers traded Phillip Rivers for Eli, so not really a traditional trade of the number 1. Those guys were traded after they were drafted too, which is not normal for the NFL. I forget that the Chargers traded the first overall pick in 01 to the Falcons for Michael Vick. Or what turned out to be Michael Vick. The Rams, they've been here before. They traded the Jets for their first overall pick in '97 to get Orlando Pace. So we've seen that. The Bengals did it to get Keyshawn Carter, and we all know how that ended with old noodle leg there. The New England Patriots traded the first overall pick to the Cowboys to get Russell Maryland. What else we got here? We got Jeff George in 1990 and his skeezer mustache on the front page of Sports Illustrated. Irving Fryer. The Bengals traded the first overall pick, and New England took Irving Fryer. So, I mean, some good players have gone before. We've seen it happen. We've seen this go down before. The Elway, obviously, another one. But the point is here, I mean, it feels like you had some guys that were definitely surefire real number 1s. And here, I thought the most surprising thing... Matt, let me finish this thought. Yeah, sure. I thought the most surprising thing from all the talk from the Rams was they weren't settled on who they were going to take.
There, you took that's exactly what I was going to say.
You traded the Hall for something? Like, that seems ridiculous. Like, I heard that. I was like, why would you trade everything if you're not even sure what you're trading for? Matt, do you want to add on that?
Well, I think the biggest, I'm sort of with Ben here. I'm torn on the idea of it because it is a quarterback-driven league, and who do they have right now? They have Nick Foles and Case Keenum. I mean,
right.
I think the biggest thing, and part of the biggest reason why they're doing this is because they made the move to LA. They have to have. I feel like they feel that they need to have a huge splash.
Right.
And so the fact that they moved up, they get the number 1 pick. I mean, Jeff Fisher is putting, and granted, I don't understand how this guy is still in the league, to be quite honest. The guy just keeps hanging on to jobs when I don't think he should. I thought he should have been fired after this year. I think it would have been a great opportunity for the Rams to cut ties, get a new coach, new city, all that stuff. But
and still make this trade and have this be the whole.
And then
you're pairing a coach with a new quarterback.
Exactly, and have that connection. I mean, how great would it have been if they would have got rid of Fisher, brought in a guy like Adam Gase? I mean, you have your offensive-minded coach. He could be with a guy like either Goff or Wentz. I'm not sold on Wentz. He's only thrown 600 passes in his career. That's crazy. That's such a small sample size. But I guess I give the Rams credit for just being like, fuck it, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna get a quarterback. We know you need one. We're gonna see how it goes. So it's no Andrew Luck. It's not even what RG3 was at the time. But they're going for it. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, let's move it along here. Let's go to some baseball talk. Sox had a tough series loss, and the Cubs at number 2 on our list also had a tough series loss. The Sox offense is struggling. The Cubs had some offensive struggles this weekend. having 2 games where they scored 1 run against the Rockies, which on our baseball preview podcast, we all kind of assumed the Rockies were going to be, yeah, and they've so far been, we'll talk in noises for the Rockies because I don't really know what else to do for them. So Ben, you wrote a blog today about the White Sox. You want to talk about those offensive struggles and what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I think it's just I think more than anything, I would say it's impressive what they're doing, considering that they really haven't had much of an offense at this point. I don't have it right in front of me, but I think their offense was 5th in the American League, 7th overall in baseball right now, which stinks when you consider the fact that they have the 3rd best team ERA right now. So
no, it's actually the best is what flashed on my bottom line.
Well, I guess I should say runs allowed is where they're at. So they've allowed the third fewest runs behind the Nationals and the Cubs right now. So I think it's just you're getting that production from the top of the order with Adam Eaton, and even I think Melky's been batting second, and his on base is 380, 390, something like that. So you're getting the guys on base in front of your big boppers, but both Abreu and obviously Frazier have been struggling big time. So they really have to get those bats moving, because at some point, and then you see it tonight, the pitching is going to fall apart. Carlos Rodon had a rough go of it today. I think he pitched a third of an inning.
Yeah.
Had a 1.35 ERA today. So
I started him in fantasy.
I did as well. So
he gave up 5 earned in the first.
So not a good day. And these are the kind of days where you need the offense to pick it up, and it's just not there. Last I saw, they hadn't scored. I don't know if that's been updated or not, but I think it was
6-0 LA.
Yeah. So there's your offensive struggles again. It's a long season. Obviously, the weather's been kind of crummy today. Obviously nicer, but I don't think Abreu and Frazier struggle the whole season like this. So eventually they'll get it on, but then you're running into the problems you had last year, where it's like one guy's hot, the rest of the team struggles, then those guys get hot, and the rest of the guys struggle again. So it's just kind of a back and forth type thing. So they have to pick that up. As far as the Cubs go, I'm chalking it up to just a bad series loss. I mean, we had it last year against Philadelphia. After this series, we already saw the people. We got to blow it up. I think I even saw somebody mention how Jason Hayward should be platooning in right field at this point.
Well, if he should be platooning, then Rizzo should just be on the bench, because Rizzo's batting average is down. And I think that's what Cubs fans need to get a grip with here is the Cubs are 9-3, and the offense is not really even clicking as much as they expect to. And for the Sox, and at least with the Cubs, they have that. The back half of last year to lean on and go, well, we did this last year, right? We saw the offense explode. Whereas for the Sox, it's, okay, the hitting struggles were all last year, and here we are again, and we're seeing some of the same things. Thankfully, they're off to the better start this year, because as I had said early on with, the most important players for the Sox this year, and we'll talk about, my weird interpretations of how we do list on the on our weekly countdown. But man, I thought if they got off to a slow start, that could be the end of Ventura, and you just wonder sometimes, what's going on that they can't get the bats going with guys that should be swinging the bat. Matt, any thoughts on I know you and I pre-show we were talking about the best fans in baseball. You got anything to say about the best fans?
Just keep your jean shorts and your red shirts down in St. Louis. Yeah, it's dumb. I've never been a person that gets overly upset one way or another in regards to like a player leaving a team. And some of the things that I've read on Twitter about Jason Hayward and I guess the ESPN mics picked up multiple instances of the N-word being used toward Hayward when he went up to bat tonight. I mean, come on. He's a baseball player. He's a person. Who cares? He left a team that he played one season for. Like, come on. It's the same when people got all upset when Julius Peppers went to Green Bay and called him a traitor and spelled traitor wrong and all that stuff because people are just stupid. So it's dumb, and it's the sort of stuff that gets me all riled up because I think it's so utterly stupid.
I will say though, we sit here and we're talking about the best fans in baseball in St. Louis. The Bears fans sometimes, I think we have some of the dumbest fans.
Oh yeah.
Oh my!
Every fan base has them. I mean,
I know, but
it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's just I don't. The one thing I will say, and I was tempted to actually write something along these lines, but I think it's better just as a statement, especially from the Cubs fan side. There's no reason even to engage in any kind of argument with a St. Louis fan because even if we win, the argument's going to be, and I'm just saying like this series or a series in general. Even if we win the series, they're going to say, "Oh, well,
1908.
yeah, 1908 will be the first words out of their mouth. If we lose the series, it'll be 1908, and we're still better than you. You're still the Cubs. We're gonna keep winning. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It's like there's no reason even to engage in an argument with them because that's what people fall back to is 1908. Like I get it. You don't think we understand the Cubs haven't won since 1908, but what does that have to do with this season? Nothing. I mean, it's hard to win a World Series. So whatever. It'll be a fun series. If there's one team that I really want to beat, though, it is the Cardinals.
yes.
At the same time, I'm not going to be like, if we lose the series, I'm not going to, call for the team to be dismantled and blown up and change everything again. So, whatever.
All right, and on to our last conversation tonight. The Blackhawks are in a 2-1 hole, but it's a familiar place for them. You saw as the Cubs lost, the Hawks gave away a 2-1 third period lead and then fell into a 2-1 hole. But people have very short memories because if you all remember back in June of last year, Stanley Cup final, Hawks were down 2-1 after losing a game 3 at home. And the series before that, I know this is going to sound weird, they were down 2-1 after losing game 3 at home to the Ducks. So they've been here. And they've come out fine on the other side the last 2 times. It's not something you want to do with regularity because, you would think more often than not, a team that goes down 2-1 is going to end up losing the series because the other team has to win less games than you. But here we are. The Hawks down 2-1. So, Matt, we'll start with you. Your level of concern going into tomorrow, or as people listen to this on Tuesday, your level of concern going into the game tonight.
It's tough just because it's been such a back and forth series so far. I mean, the first 3 games have been pretty evenly matched across the board. You got 2 great goaltenders going at it. The stat that I love that everybody's been bringing it up, the Hawks are 43-14 in games 4 through 7 of the playoffs during Quenneville's 7 seasons as head coach, including 26-6 in the last 3 seasons, including 15-1 at home. That's damn impressive. That's very impressive. And let's face it, are you not expecting this Blues team to shit their pants at this point? I mean, I know that sounds very Homer, but it's not something that's foreign to them. It's something
this time will be different.
Yeah, they've been doing this the last 3 years. The Hawks have enough core guys, these guys, your Taves, your Canes, your Crawfords, Keith, Seabrooks, all these guys that Hossa who've been here before. They've done it. My assumption is I think they win tomorrow. I can't imagine them winning 2 games in a row at home, losing 2 games in a row at home. I'm not overly concerned. Obviously, if they lose Tuesday night, I'll be a little more concerned, but I'm still there's just something about this team. It seems like this happens every year that they get down like this. People get worried. They think it's the end of the world. So as of right now, I'm not that concerned.
Ben, your level of concern?
I mean, I would keep it like Matt. Concern is low at this point, but I think these playoffs so far have been a pretty big surprise. So, I mean, we're at a point where it's possible that the 2 favorites out of the West, at least in our eyes, the Kings and the Hawks, could be gone by the end of the first round. I mean, that just tells you what the NHL playoffs are. It's just about how hot you are coming into the playoffs. And San Jose was a hot team. St. Louis was a hot team. I still think the Hawks pull it out, but at the end of the day, I can't say that with a ton of confidence. But we still have that core guys where I say, yeah, they can come back, and yeah, I still think they probably win this in 6, truthfully. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I think if you thought Hawks in 6, they can still do that. A lot of people thought Hawks in 7. I think it might go that as well. You look at this series. One of the things that really pissed me off in Game 1, the man shitter dressed because Q has reasons, and I'm not saying that dressing Panik or Dale Weiss over Manshitter would have been the be all end all and would have been what the Hawks would have won. But at the same time, you're 0-0 at the end of regulation. Could one of those guys have made the difference for the Hawks to win? And Q over the last 6 years has had those questionable moments. And I had a conversation with someone today, and they're like, why don't you like Q? I'm like, it's not that I don't like Q. I like Q. I mean, 3 cups, and everybody that loves Q, they always go 3 cups, 3 cups, 3 cups. And I like to go, okay, 3 cups, but 2014 could have been 4 cups.
Yep.
If he didn't stay married to Zeus all the way down the stretch. And Bolig, yes. I mean, it was bad there for a while, and he kept dressing them and was rolling 10 forwards when he could have rolled 11 if you thought Nordstrom could give you anything, and 12 if the guy they traded from the Islanders.
Nick Leddy?
No, not the
Oh,
I can't think of his name, but and again, not that those guys are amazing, but at the time I thought they were better than Bolig and Zeus, and Q had reasons, and I hope that Manshitter starting Game 1 doesn't come back to bite him. I hope that we see some changes in the lineup, but I hope those changes include Svedberg going out. I'd love to see Christian Ehrhoff. I didn't think he ever did anything bad enough to he's what, the 8th or 9th defenseman on the depth chart, and there just seems to be no reason for that at all. So
he had a couple really bad games right before he got benched permanently.
Worse than Svedberg. What is Svedberg? I mean, worse than Svedberg and TVR. And granted, TVR has had a decent series. He has had a decent series, but for Christ's sake,
pretty good series, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a solid 3 games for him. I mean, outside of getting pantsed in overtime in Game 1 that led to the goal, but Crawford could have bailed him out if he would have.
It was an unfortunate deflection. I mean, what do you?
Oh no, I'm not talking about the goal going in. If you watch, the Blues enter the zone there, TVR gets just absolutely skated around, and then the Blues are able to set up, and and then Crawford has a chance to cover the puck, and he doesn't, and things happen. But the problem is these games are 1-goal games. I expect the Hawks to win 1-goal games, but man, you get into the playoffs, and as we all know, every 1-goal game can be a very, very goofy bounce. And I don't know about you guys, but that Ladd shot went post to post, and I looked at that and I went, that one could come back to bite. So
I found the guy you were looking for, by the way.
Yeah,
from the Islanders, Peter Regan.
Yes, Peter Regan. Again, I'm not saying Peter. I mean, I don't even think he's in the league anymore. But during that season, Peter Regan was a better option than Brandon Bolig and Michael Hanzus. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So, all right. So before we let this go, Ben, prediction for the Hawks. You're going Hawks in 6?
Yeah, I mean, again, I said it before. Until the Hawks are officially eliminated, I got to stick with them. So yeah, I'll still stick with Hawks in 6.
Matt,
I think it goes 7, but I pick the Hawks in 7.
Tomorrow night will really tell me everything, because there's 2 things that have beaten the Hawks, or what it's taken to beat the Hawks. And it's been a share of the possession over 55%, I believe, or a goalie that saves 95% of the shots. And right now, Brian Elliott's at 9.58, and I'm waiting for the carrots to turn back into a pumpkin. I think tomorrow will tell us a lot of where this is at. If Brian, the last thing you want is it to be a series too late, as the guy at the Committed Indians say. You really don't want it to be we tried to get to Brian Elliott, and then next series Dallas just lights him up, and you're like, oh, there he is. There's the real Brian Elliott. You want to figure it out here. And my guess is if Taves and Kane just keep having their way. I mean, Taves and Kane have put a lot of shots on goal, And I think if that continues, I think it's Hawks in 6. I think if they don't figure Elliott out tomorrow, I would pick maybe the Blues in 7. I worry that if they don't figure him out, it's going to be too little, too late. So I think a win tomorrow puts it Hawks in 6. A Hawks loss tomorrow in a lower scoring affair, and I might go Blues in 7. So unfortunately,
real gutsy of to pick the Blues after they go up 3-1.
I know. Hey, but they're going to have to go to the brink.
Really going out on a limb there.
I am. Hey, I'm going to say they're going to go Blues in 7, and I think Fowler's about to hit another home run. No, it's going to get caught at the track.
Scott, who would you say would be the MVP of the series then? Probably Ken Hitchcock?
Oh, Jabba the Hutt. I know we're at 20. We're at the borderline of time here for this podcast, but can we just talk about the idiocy that is Ken Hitchcock?
We don't want to talk about Ken Hitchcock's cankles.
Oh, I'd love to talk about his cankles.
Those things are ham hocks, man.
Ken Hitchcock looks like Mr. Burns' son from The Simpsons. He was in one episode. He was voiced by Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, amazing. But can we just talk really quickly about how Ken Hitchcock's team wins game 1? They win in overtime, real big boost. And he's sitting here going, man, we got to get to 70 hits. And it's just like, dude, we just did this 2 years ago where Ryan Kessler of the Ducks is going, no team can withstand this many hits, and the Hawks just looked at him and went, okay then, you do you. So, the idiocy. St. Louis, man, that feels like a team with like a real coach that could have maybe done some damage. Really could have been a thorn in the Hawks' side. So I thank the ownership of the St. Louis Blues for firing and rehiring Ken Hitchcock in the same offseason. And I really hope we get to see Ken Hitchcock, show his ugliness even more in terms of coaching tomorrow, Thursday, and then finishing it off on Saturday. So, all right. That's the weekly for this week. Be sure to download. Ben did a nice article on the Sox. You can check that out on WordPress. Also, minor announcement, the Google Podcast Store is up. So we are now available on Google through their podcaster. So I'm pretty sure we're available. I just got to go double check some stuff. But if you're on the Android and you've been waiting for Google to kind of have us, got the email today saying that, hey, they are proud to announce that they are now putting podcast up. So I will have that information for you guys. I'll throw something up on the Facebook on the page next week or later this week once I get that all sorted out. But it looks like if you've been on the Android device and having a hard time downloading us, you're going to have the opportunity through the Google Store. So hopefully we'll be able to get you on the go. So again, for Matt Yurk and Ben Russo, I'm Scott Sterno. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and look for us in the Google Play Store thing. We'll leave it at that. Have a great week.